This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so morning everybody. Hope everybody can hear me. So Divi. So I actually have attended, gosh, a ton of Divi pre-recorded meetings. There's some training that you can do online with Divi, and then I've also gone to, if y'all have done it, you may have. There's like a pre-meeting that y'all can do for Divi that is really like they're just kind of explaining the program to you and how Divi kind of works. And so what I did is basically I put together this presentation only because it didn't really explain a lot. It was very high level. And so what my goal is today is to give y'all an understanding from a perspective of somebody who's actually using the program. And so that's what this is really kind of geared to. Agent, less than a year, so but I really kind of dug into the Divi program prior when we were at Abbey. There's some marketing materials that you can use that we're going to go over today. There are some different information, hopefully from a different perspective, is what you're getting today. So first question obviously is, and if I can get this PowerPoint to work, is why Divi? So everything working up there? So really, why Divi? There's a couple of different reasons that I like the Divi program. First off, it's quick. It's an all-cash offer. So if you're dealing with a client that is just fed up with putting offers out there and them not getting approved because these cash offers are beating them, Divi is a program that you can do. Literally, Divi will buy the house and it'll give them the access to buy it from Divi 2 days later. So I mean, it's a good program from that standpoint. Also, you typically close in 15 days. So if you find a house today and you put an offer on it tomorrow or even today, you can close in 15 days. There's no home appraisal being done on a Divi home. There's a home inspection, and we'll get into that, but it's really quick. I'll get into it. Yeah. So we're Divi. All Divi deals are cash offers, and so and I'll kind of explain that here in a minute. But they don't play to lose. So if they're putting an offer on a house, it's gonna be very aggressive. It's an aggressive offer. There's no appraisals. We talked about that just a second ago. And by the way, if you're online and you're putting a note in the comments, I can't see those comments. Can you tell me if a comment pops up, if you don't mind, just since you're on there as well? So I have somebody who's going to read those comments for me. So if I don't get to them right away, I will. Earn full commission. So this is a good one. So if the MLS says it's a 3% commission and you do a Divi deal, you're getting the full 3%. Now I've done a couple. One of them was with Open Door, so it's Divi on one side and Open Door on the other. Open Door only does 2.5, so in that transaction only got 2.5. And they'll make you rewrite the contract, of course, if it doesn't say that 2.5 in there. Fuel your business for the future. Now, this is really interesting. So if we close one today, then and 4 months from now, that client wants to now buy it from Divi, guess who your agent's going to be? It's going to be you. So you technically are selling the same house twice within a 36-month period. This is my favorite part. You're extending home ownership to families that couldn't otherwise, get a Divi get a regular FHA loan. I've actually had clients that don't qualify for FHA at all for multiple reasons. Don't have 2 years of reportable income, don't have don't have a social security number. There's multiple reasons that can cause somebody not to qualify today, and Divi will extend them, put them in a home, rent that home to them, buy the home that they want, and they will allow for them to go through the process, help build credit, help build down payment, and so on. So I really, that's my favorite part about it. I don't know about you guys, but And of course I got into it for the money, but I was making good money before I really got into this industry because I wanted to help people, not just sell something to them, right? And then I mentioned this quickly, but ITIN options are available for Divi. Now, keep in mind, after the 36-month program, most lenders will not lend to an ITIN unless there's like 20% down. Divi is only going to save 10% of that. So they are going to need to make sure they come up with that other 10%. So they're in the house that they want now, and then 36 months later, when they go to qualify, they still have to qualify the way they would normally qualify for lending. No social security number. So I don't, no, there's no voucher programs. So most of the programs will just say, if you don't have a social security number, we can't do anything with you. Divi is willing to work with them. Now, it's kind of a catch-22, to be honest with you. So what I mean by that is if I get you into a home on an ITIN, and then you don't have 20% when you hit the 36-month mark, Divi's going to say, hey, can't sell you the house. Here's your money back for whatever you've saved, and then you're going to have to go. You're still kind of in the same boat. And so it's important that you, if you're going to have somebody that is an ITIN option, that you're explaining to them, hey, you need to make sure you're doing some additional savings here. I don't know if you got money under the mattress, whatever it is, but it needs to be in a bank account, and you're going to need to have to go through normal qualifying guidelines. But it gives them 3 years to come up with that difference, you know? That's right. That's right. That's right. So these are some really important numbers. If you're online, I would screenshot this. If you're in here, I would write some of this stuff down. This is not something that you get. Matter of fact, you're probably not even supposed to have this information, but I'm sharing it because it's through my experience of going through it. First off, that general number, that 833-600-0096, that is when you're going through the application process. Divi likes to text, they like the email, and they have this phone number. I'm going to tell you, 9 out of 10 times when you call this number, it's going to ask you option 1 is you're a client doing an application. Option 2, you are a real estate agent. I couldn't tell you what 3 and 4 are because I always hit 2 at that point. Don't hit 2. If you hit 2 and say you're a real estate agent, you're going to go into a queue list. Let's say it's 9. And they'll tell you, okay, we're going to pick up in 15 minutes. You're going to get to number 1. They're going to say, hey, leave a message, and Divi will send you right to voicemail. It's the most frustrating thing is their voice communication when it comes to Divi. Now, that being said, if you hit option 1 and say you're the client, they will get on the phone within seconds, and you will have a live person, and you just explain, hey, I'm the agent. My client is having an issue with an application. Here's the issue, and they will work on fixing it for you right then and there. So that's important. Advisors team. Every time, so Texas has its own team. Every time you deal with the advisor, you're going to get a different advisor. So the phone number may be different for each one. They will, like if you call that 1-800 number, that 833 number, they actually will text you back and say, hey, we missed you. What can we do for you? I'm telling you now, if you respond to that text and you text back and say, hey, I need such and such and such, they'll respond within 2 days. Yeah. Their text messaging responses, sometimes they're hit or miss, but don't expect them to respond immediately. The best way to communicate with Divi is that email at offers@divihomes.com. They respond usually within 20 minutes. So I will tell you that there's pros and cons to Divi. The con is the communication sometimes with Divi is slower than I would like to have had. I'm one of those people that likes to pick up a phone, talk to a live person. You know, it's a little frustrating from that standpoint, but if you just back off a little bit and go with the email option, I'm telling you, you'll get the communication that you want. Now, in Texas, Divi uses a third-party title company which is called OS National. It's hit or miss, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. So what I found is my first experience, and I've done a number of these now. My first experience was with this Tiana Brown. Guys, she literally did the title work the day of closing. We didn't close on time. She was asking for simple things like the survey, which I'd already sent to her 3 times. It was a nightmare. It was one of the worst closings that I've ever had in real estate. And so I reached out and got her boss's number and name and found out that for the state of Texas, she runs all the Texas group. So I put it on this slide so you guys have that number. That being said, she promised me, because I was never going to do another Divi again. It was that bad. I was like, if that's what Divi's using, not doing it no more. And so she convinced me. She said, look, I want you to try it, at least one more, because I had one in the pipeline. And sure enough, I did it. I ended up with this Renee McBride. And guys, I can't tell you how happy I am with her. I use her for all of my stuff now. It's the 2S. Thank you. Yep, it's the 2S. But I now use Renee. Literally, I sent everything over, 3-4 days before closing, and send her what she wants. Never hear from her again. She texts me and says, "Hey, guess what? We've done this. We've done this. Hey, title's ready. Hey, we're going to closing. Hey, we just closed." Lots of communication. If you have the opportunity to select your rep, pick Renee. Okay. I think there's a team of 5. Is what my last understanding was. Requirements of Divi. Now they kind of went over this really high level in the other classes in the Divi actual course, so I'm gonna go over these kind of quickly. If you have questions, let me know. We don't have any questions in line, right? No. First question is, you gotta have a FICO. Question. First requirement is you gotta have a FICO score of a 550 or 600. So really 550 is the magic number you have to have, but don't assume that if they have a 550, they're going to get approved. Keep in mind, if you're pulling up your Credit Karma and you have a 550, you're really probably sitting about a 520, right? And y'all know. So I would tell you and I'll explain the difference between what gets you more when we get into some of the actual showing you the tools. But 600 or better is really the number that you want to deal with when you're dealing with the Divi stuff. Minimum income of 40K. Now I'll tell you, I have had clients get approved at 40K and we really couldn't do anything. And the reason why is because 40K gets you a $70,000 to $130,000 home. Try to find that in spring. You know what I'm saying? Or Katie, try to find that. It's going to be really hard to be able to find that. So you really want 50, 60, 70,000 as the income. They have to currently be employed. If they're a W-2 employee, they're going to have a portal, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but they'll have to upload their pay stubs into the portal. Good over there? You're going to have to upload I know. You wasn't breathing. You're going to upload a W-2. If you're a 1099 employee, you can still do it with this program. You'll just have to upload bank statements that show that income. Max debt to income is 50%. You would think that was pretty simple, but believe it or not, a lot of clients that you're going to be dealing with Divi are going to have some pretty high debt. So, coaching them through paying down some of that credit card debt before getting them into the program actually makes a difference on getting approved. Say that again. Somebody's not on mute. Stephanie, I think we can hear you. No evictions for the previous year and no bankruptcies in the past year. Those are important ones. So a lot of times I'm talking to either reps, agents, or I'm talking to customers, and they go, well, why would I want to rent? I mean, why wouldn't I want to just rent until I can save up money? I can put money in a savings account. Why wouldn't I want to do that versus, using your Divi program? So first off, deposit. So if we're using a $2,500 monthly rent as an example, then what you're going to look at is you're going to look at the monthly rent plus the security deposit. That's about $5,000. On a rental scenario, let's be real, you're probably never going to see that money again, right? You're giving them first month's rent and you're giving a security deposit. They're going to nickel and dime that security deposit and try to keep as much of that at the end of the lease as they possibly can. With a Divi program, you're putting 2% down, so you're putting about $6,900. You're really putting about $1,900 difference into the home, with the exception of that $1,900, well, the $6,900, all of that is still your money. When you go to close on the home, when you go to buy this home, that's the money they're using to buy the home. So you're not really losing it when you're doing the Divi program versus the other program, but renting. If you want to break a lease on a rental, you're going to pay a fee to do that, right? And you're going to lose your security deposit, and you're going to lose your first month's rent, right? And so you're usually locked in either 12 months or 18 months on a lease. With the Divi program, you do have the 2% at stake, but if life happens and all of a sudden I got to move to Arizona for a job change or whatever it is, I can give a 30-day notice and I'm out of there. There's no lease break. There's none of that. Keep in mind, you're still losing 2%. So that's a big deal, right? And then build equity. Rental, if you're renting, you're not building equity, right? You're building equity for somebody else. It's not your equity. With the Divi program, and I'll show this in a minute, you're going to be locked into a buy rate. So you're going to know up front, if I buy this house 3 days from now, this is what it's going to cost me to buy it. Or if I buy it 36 months from now, this is what it's going to cost me to buy it. You know now. So if the market inflation goes up and it exceeds what is going on for that house that you're planning on buying, you've got some positive equity there. Budget. So here we're gonna online. I apologize. I'm gonna take you off for a second, and then I'm gonna bring you back up with some of the tools. Give me 1 second here. How do I minimize this now? Okay, so in here. All right, let's see, how do I share again? Okay, can y'all see? Yeah, I think we're online again. Okay, so this is the Divi site. I need to minimize this. Okay, so this is the Divi site. So I've already registered as an agent with Divi. So because of that, whether I go to my site on my phone or whether I go to my site on the computer, I always have this little agent portal up in the top right corner, okay? So when I click on my agent portal, what you're gonna see is you're gonna see all my recent clients that pop up. I think they keep 30 days on there. Maybe it's 60 days. So you're going to see all my clients. So from here, I can go in and find out what's going on with whichever client that I'm dealing with. Got a decline there, a couple declines there actually. I'm going to use this one as an example. So Dia Tucker, so this one here, you can see as they go through. So if I'm doing the initial application, actually, let me go back home real quick. Well, that's okay. So if I'm doing the initial application, I'll show you where to do that in a second. If you just hit an invite client, all you need is their email address and their name. Those are all that you need. And if you have 2 people that are going to apply to this, like a husband and wife or whatever, you only need 1 of them. And so once they get it, they can add on whoever they want for the application. Application takes 5 minutes. The initial pull is a soft pull. So they're going to do a soft pull. They're going to ask them at that point to go ahead and upload bank statements, W-2s. They're going to do an authorization for a credit check and a background check. Once they do all that, the whole process, maybe 5 minutes. It's really quick application. Once they do all of that, you'll be able to track it as you go through these steps. So you'll be able to see, okay, this one's complete, this is complete, and you can see as you're going through the process what has been done and if there's an issue. Now, an example of an issue, for example, if we come back here and look at, I'm going to look at one of these ones that was declined. So, and y'all, they can see, you can see this online, right? Will, you can see it online, right? Okay. So an example of a decline, if I'm looking at the application, well, shoot, it's not going to show me now, but you can see it's, you can see this is backwards. So they're approved for 140 to 70. Normally it would be 70 to 140, right? So when you're looking at the Divi website, that's an indicator there's a problem. All right, so that's when you want to get on the phone with that 1-800 number, or you want to start emailing somebody and saying, hey, see the numbers are flip-flopped, what's the problem? Nobody told me that, and I was thinking, okay, well, we're good, and it would go days and days and days and nothing would change. So look for this indicator here to tell you whether or not you're on track or you're not on track. Okay, turns out she had a $40,000 income and didn't have much more. And so they declined her because of that. Single mom, no second income, wasn't enough to buy a house in the spring area that she wanted to be in. So they turned her down. All right. So when we come back over here to this other client, Dia, some things that I want to point out here. So you can see this one was 160 to 345. A good example, Dia's husband applied. He makes $80,000 as a truck driver here in Houston area. While dealing with just the husband, he was approved for $410,000. You can see the dollar amount went down, right? So when we added Dia to the file, because Dia wanted to be on the file, the numbers went down. So it's based on debt to income and it's based on credit. So just like anything else. It is based on the worst credit, exactly. So they defaulted to Dia's credit. He had a 7 plus something. Dia had a 640, 650. Actually, it wasn't even 650. And actually, had we had just left it under him, he qualified for the new program, which is no savings fund. It would have just been, so there is a new program. If it's 650 or higher, they get approved for 2% down, and then the savings fund, they still had to do the 2% down, because if you move out of the house, Divi still wants their 2%, right? But they didn't have to save monthly. Make sense? And so if I get to the point now, I want to initiate an offer. So right now, this client, I'm actually currently looking for this client. This afternoon, I'll be out looking at houses with her. And so this client is ready to go, right? We have all of our approvals, and you see this initiate an offer. If we find a house and we want to put an offer on a house, the next step is I click that button. It's going to ask me the age of the home. It's going to ask me the address. It's going to pull in the MLS. The system does everything for me. What will happen after I do that is I will get a phone call within 2 hours. I don't care if you submit that button at 11 o'clock at night. You're getting a phone call by 1 o'clock, and somebody is going to talk to you about this house. That's right. Yep, that initiate offer where my mouse is here. If you click that button, somebody's calling you within 2 hours. Okay, now you might not get the offer until the next day, but you're getting a phone call. And so what that phone call needs to sound like is, I've already had a conversation with my client and I already know what they're comfortable with. If we look over here, Dia is approved for 345. I'll tell you a secret. She's actually approved for more than that. That's what Divi has approved her for on the front end. If I now go and I find a house that is 345 and it's in spring and it's on the market less than 15 days, Divi's not going to offer 345. They're going to offer 365, and they're going to say your client's approved. And that's because they don't play to lose. They're playing to win, right? And so if I come over here to the calculator, I'm just going to use a random address. let's use the calla lily. So if I pull up this and you can see this is the tool. So before I hit initiate offer, I sit down with my clients and say, okay, what is your budget? What's your comfort level look like? On a $350,000 home, if they are in a 5% savings plan, make sure you select that. If they only have a 10% option, make sure you select that. If you're over 600, they're always going to have a 5% option. Okay. And so then I can go in here and say, okay, based off of that, your total down is going to be $7,000. Your rent is going to be $2,685. Your savings plan is $335, and your total payment every month is going to be $3,020. Now I have a lot of people that will come back and say, especially agents, and go, yeah, but I can rent them a house for 28, or I can rent them a house for 27. You can, but there's no savings pool. You're not doing anything for them to get them out of it. If they could save, they would already be saved. You know, if I could save $400 a month every month, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation, right? And so this is giving them an option so that when you get to 36 months, keep in mind, these numbers are based on 36 months. When I get to this point here, I've got $21,000 saved up that I can use to buy that house. Now, if you're a good agent, when you get to that closing, when you get ready to buy the house, you're also going to see if there's a DAP for it, a down payment assistance program that qualifies as well. Then there's additional programs that you can use, and so there's more that you can do there. This number right here is really important. If I get 7 months into it and go, you know what, dude, the house is haunted. I don't like it. I can't. The neighbors are jerks. I can't do it. I can't live here. And I move out of the house. Okay, well, this is what I'm getting. Okay, assuming that's been saved at that point. And really, technically, that's at 36 months. Right? If I don't buy the house, this is what I'm getting. And that's because the 2% down, the down payment, is always at stake if you walk away from the house. Keep in mind, Divi bought a house that you wanted. That's the cost, is 2%. Okay. And then I can play with this number. So if I go into this and I say, hey, you know what, that's the asking price. What are you willing to see? This one goes up to 367. Most likely, they're actually going to be able to go that high. If I go 367, I can come down here and look at the tool and see how it calculates out and changes. Now I've had a conversation with my client. Most likely, the client is aware. We've already had that conversation. So when I get that phone call, I now can, on that phone call, go, yeah, my client is comfortable going to 260. Or my client is not comfortable going any higher. So Divi, that is an option. I've had that happen. Divi will go, okay, well, we're not going to put an offer on this house. Let's keep looking, and we'll keep looking. The trigger really is 15 days. That's what I've found so far. If you find a house in spring, less than 15 days on market, they're going to tell you, we're going to offer something more. If you find something that's like 28 days, they almost always go with whatever the asking price is. I typically will tell them to add $5,000 to it, because every time I do a deal with Divi, Divi finds something. It's usually the AC unit. I've gone through all the presentations, and all the presentations say, well, if it's less than 14 years for the roof, we're not going to do anything with that deal. Or if the AC unit is, I think, 20 years or older, we're not going to do anything with that deal. It's not a fact. I just closed one. Divi doesn't do anything with pools. I just closed one the other day. The pool was dark doo-doo brown. I mean, it was nasty, right? Divi was like, you know what? We're not going to touch the pool, but you can have it serviced and cleaned and checked and inspected. They sent an inspector out for it. The AC unit was 28 years old. We closed. So I mean, it's a real thing. It will move forward. And now there's an inspection, and when they go through the inspection, Divi is going to ask for money for that. AC unit hadn't been serviced. There's no records on it. They're going to ask for it to be serviced, right? And so when you go through that process, they will ask the recipient for that money. So I always say 5,000 over, because now they're more likely to go, well, do what? No, Divi won't do a home warranty. Yeah. But at the same token, there's $5,000 above asking price. So if they come back and say, okay, well, we need $5,000 worth of concessions, it's kind of built into the price of the home. And so, yeah, the renter can't buy it. No, Divi won't buy it. So, no. So, all right. So let me go back. Sorry, guys. Let me go back to PowerPoint. And I'm sure I'm not showing this the right way, so I'm just gonna do it this way. It's okay. Yeah, man. Community covenants and restrictions. I don't know what y'all can see. We're seeing different things. I don't know how to fix this. Let me see here. Let's share this screen. Are we all on the same screen, I think? Okay. Let me fast forward. Sorry, everybody. Fast forwarding real quick. A little too far. Of course, best practices. So a couple of the best practices that I got for you guys. The first one is after client is fully approved for an offer and the offer is initiated, Divi is going to send everything through a dot loop. For those of us that were Abby, we dealt with dot loops before, but not everybody does. So my best practice share here is when you get the dot loop from Divi, go ahead and save it to your desktop so that the signatures are permanent. And because if you send it straight to the listing agent, it's going to end up deleting Divi's signatures. And so then you're having to go back and get Divi to sign it, which then deletes their signatures. So the easiest way to do it is download it, stick it in SkySlope, and then send it over through SkySlope. When you send it over in SkySlope, absolutely, the only way Divi will ever find it is if you put the address in the, when you do Sky, if you haven't done it yet, but when you do SkySlope, it's going to ask you a subject line for the email. Make sure you put the address in that subject line, or they'll never correlate and match the two up. Okay, and then so Divi is a rental program, right? So you need to know if there's restrictions for rentals in the neighborhood. I have come across them actually, even in the Woodlands, I've come across them recently. So each subdivision is a little bit different. Some of them have caps, some of them have basic restrictions. Cap would be you can only have 10 rentals on this street. Some of them might be Imperial Oaks, for example. One section, like section 9, has no restrictions whatsoever, but I think like section 12 may have caps. So it's important that you know if there's a cap or if there's not a cap. And when you call the homeowners association, go ahead and get the CCRs, community covenants and restrictions, and get those have them emailed to you, because you're going to need to upload those to Divi. Divi has to verify that there is not rental restrictions, and if they do, they immediately break their contract. By the way, Divi also does an option period, and I'll get into that in a section. Their option, they always pay $1,000 towards option period. Even if the listing says we only require $175 for a 12-day, Divi always does $1,000. Okay. After initiating this list is long, but go ahead and do your SkySlope, bring in all of these documents and send them all one time over to Divi. And Divi, remember at this point, once you initiated the offer, your client is no longer your client. The client that you've been dealing with that's going to be the renter, they're really not your client. Now, at this point, Divi is your client. So you need to send an IABS. You need to send the fraud notice. You need to send the CMA, the HOA mandated documents. If you send this list all at one time, Divi signs everything all in one blurb and sends it right back to you. So you're good to go. And then you can take these documents and then their offer, put it all together, send one clean file over to the listing agent, and it's all said and done. Divi covers the dues, yes. Yeah, they do. They are. So here's the cool thing about Divi, and that is that they're responsible for everything as the homeowner, including repairs. So now that being said, your client, your renter client, they technically get a try it before you buy it scenario. They get 3 years, and they can do anything to that house as long as it does not require a permit. I can't put in a pool. I can put in an above ground pool. I can't go and build an extension on the back of the house, but I could put a pergola, I could do concrete, I can paint the house, I can do whatever I want, change a fence, extend the yard. As long as it does not require a permit, Divi will allow them to do that. Nope, they can do it. It's their house. They're and because think about it on the other side of it, if they improve the home in some way, shape, or form, and then they don't buy it, it's good improvement. That's right. Yeah, exactly. Except for like, building a janky addition that doesn't have a permit. That's why Divi gets involved at that point. No comments, right? Are we still good on comments? Okay. Inspection. So Divi uses their own inspection company, and I didn't know this. And I technically they're a third party, but they're an affiliate, right? And so, guys, typically, if a good example, Friday before last, I did one. I signed and initiated the offer. We agreed to terms. Everything got done in the same day as an open door. That's why it all went really quick, right? And we finished everything on that file like Friday around 7:30 in the afternoon. The following morning at 9 a.m., an inspector was at that house. Man, I'm telling you. And like I said, email is the way to go. As long as you're emailing, you're good to go. Inspector shot me an email. Hey, I'll be at the house at 9 a.m. You're welcome to join me. So is the client. They will let the client come in and do the inspection with them. And they'll point out everything just like a homeowner, because they're eventually going to be the homeowner. A lot of clients really like that stuff. So I go just so I know what we're going to be negotiating, honestly. At the end, they do send the inspection report. It takes 1 to 2 business days for the inspection report typically to get there. And I'm telling you, they are going to ask for something. It's usually AC and heater, and they want to see service records. If you go and you look in the attic and you see service records, that might not be a big deal. But so far, every time, I never see service records. I don't know how much y'all guys have, but I never see service records on there. So that being said, they're going to ask for at least a maintenance on the AC unit, the heater, the coil. They do look for these 5 things. They look at the roof, they look at the foundation, they look at water heater, AC and heater, and then the termites. I have had one that had termites, and they just requested that it be treated. So it's not a deal breaker saying that we're never going to do this, but just know those are the key things that they're looking at. Good example, open door, they refused to do anything. They were like, nope, house is the way it is. We're not going to do it. We're not bringing anything up to code. It was at code when it was built. We're not servicing the AC unit. I said, okay. I sent them over the termination saying, hey, we're going to terminate this contract and we're going to move on. Within 5 minutes, I had a $3,000 counteroffer saying, I'm sitting on my table going, hey, you know what? I was just joking. We're going to give you $3,000 instead. So we'll comply a little bit. We're not going to give you 5,000, but we'll give you 3,000. And in that same scenario, because they said no, before I sent over the termination letter, Divi actually reached out to my client and said, hey, how bad do you want this house? If you really want the house, we need another $2,000, and then you can get the house. These things have to be fixed before they'll move forward. And so that was kind of a big deal. My client was like, I'm not paying another $2,000. I already got my down payment in there. So no. And so as soon as I went back to them and gave that termination, they were ready to play and gave another $3,000 in concession. So the key note there is just know that if they won't give the concession, they will ask your client to pony that up. So you don't do any of the contract, you don't do the amendment, this here, the repairs, Divi does it all. And their team will put it all together, they'll send it over to you. There might be some touch-ups that you have to do, like like on the contract, you'll actually have to go in and put in your agent information and the other agent's information. It's that kind of stuff. You're not actually doing the negotiations and all that other stuff up top. Divi does all that stuff, okay? And they send it over to you. That's what comes in dot loop. It's ready to go. Let's see here. Closings. So closings are really interesting. So they close typically within 15 days. Title work is done literally the last 2 to 3 days before closing. If you got a good title agent, you're done. You're solid 2 days out, right? It's their title. Yeah, it's OS National. No, they're a third party, but that's their preferred vendor right now in Texas. When I talked to Heidi, she basically said they may be switching that, but as of right now, that is the preferred title company. I would say get your CDA a week out before closing. The way I do my CDAs is I go into the broker room for Texas and I grab the little green ticket, right? And that way I have a transaction specialist. They're going to sit down with me. I'm going to say, hey, look, I got a Divi closing in 15 days. I need or in this case, closing in 7 days. I need my CDA as fast as I can get it. And she, oh yeah, no worries. I'll reach out to that, and she'll usually tell me who it is that does that CDA for that file. For me, it's usually Michelle, and they'll go ahead and say, yeah, we'll get that to you. 3-4 days later, I get my CDA in the email. I then take that CDA. When you're dealing with OS National, there's 2 documents that you have to send over. One is sent to you from the title company, and one is your CDA. The one that I send from EXP will give you the breakdown that says this amount goes to EXP, this amount goes to Bob, and that's all it really says. But it says, don't send me Bob's commission check, send that directly to Bob. Send only the commission check for here to here, right? That's what it basically says on your CDA. So the title company wants a form filled out. Where do you want your check mailed to? I mean, I closed one Friday afternoon at 6:30, I think was when they finally got full funded. And the following morning, when I walked out to my front door, there was my check sitting on the ground. So they expedited. It's next day. So that's a great question. The question is do they do direct deposit? I will tell you that in 1 or 2 scenarios where I've done it, I've always just had the check dropped to me because it's pretty quick and I just take a picture and upload it. But the listing agent, Melissa was her name, she sent over the information for the wire and there was delays in it. There was issues with it. So I don't do it that way just because of that experience. I do the live check. So they do offer a wire option, but I don't. When I hear there's an issue, I try something else, especially when it comes to my money. So clients do not attend the closing. It's not their closing, exactly. So once it finally funds, you actually will take the lockbox, open it up, take the keys out, and that's what you're going to give to the client. Okay, so you're the one that's going to give the keys to the client, and you can't do it until after it funds. Okay. Now that being said, Divi, you're not sitting down with Divi and doing a closing. It's not your traditional closing. So OS National, they do everything. You get a phone call, hey, everything's closed, or actually in this case, Renee's text me, hey, we just closed with Divi. Hey, we just closed with the seller. Hey, it just funded. Hey, your check just got mailed out. So that's again, that's why I like Renee. That being said, the seller also goes through a mobile notary scenario. So what that means basically is they're going to get a packet in the mail a day before, and they sign all their documents e-sign a day before. And then at a scheduled time, they get on the phone with a mobile notary and they look at their ID and they close the file that way. So Let's see. Extra stuff. So this is hopefully some good stuff for you. Client portal. So the client, from the day that you send them the initial invite, they get a client portal. Everything is done in stages through this whole process. If you're dealing with Divi, and this is probably the hardest thing for me to realize, but it's the simplest, to be honest with you guys. If you're submitting an application, it's compartmentalized with the department that does applications. If you're moving into the we're shopping promotion, or you're in the initiate offer prior to that, then that's a section of Divi that you're dealing with. And it changes depending on where you're at. You're going to get an email that says, hey, now your contact person is this. Now your contact person. Don't keep emailing that previous person, because now you're dealing with a different group. If you get to the closing team, Julie, by the way, is amazing. So if you deal with Julie, there's a closing team. So you have specific, but as you're going through, your portal will also identify that to the client. Hey, this is due. Hey, this is the next step. One thing on the initiating an offer, when you go to initiate the offer, your client will have to go into their portal, accept the lease terms that they're going to be renting, and they have to deposit $500 into it. And so that's their good faith before they buy a house. We want to know you're really going to do something, right? Now, if they don't accept the offer, they get the $500 back, or they can leave it in the portal available whenever, okay? Then when you get ready to, when your offer gets accepted, before you go to closing, you'll go back into the portal and you'll do your deposit. Your 2% will get put into it at that point. Does that make sense? So everything is through the portal. And then as they're living in the house and they're making their monthly payments, they can log into the portal and they can see how much is in their savings pool and how much they'll get back whenever. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. If you buy the house today, again, I can sell it tomorrow. And so remember those two different numbers. I didn't scroll all the way to the bottom, but if you go to that search page, you'll see at the very bottom, it'll actually tell you if you buy the house. I'll use a $300,000 home, for example. If you buy the house within the first 18 months, then on a $300,000 home, they're going to pay around $335,000 to buy the house. So that's $30,000 cash offer. You know, that's what it's costing them to do it. If they go and they stay in that house for 36 months, it's going to be closer to $360,000 to buy that house. Okay. They could add more. You can add to it. Honestly, I think they would probably be better off sticking it into a bank account and saving it that way. But Divi will allow them to put more into it, so it's out of sight, out of mind. 90% of communication, I think we've established. The best way to communicate it to them is through email. 550 score gets the approval of a 600, 600 plus. So where that is impactful is if you're only at a 550, you're going to get a 2% and a 10% savings fund. The way they calculate that savings fund is they're going to ask for 2% down, right? So if it's $7,000, in order to close on the home, I've got to have, I don't know, $20,000. They're going to take the difference of the $7,000 towards that 20, divide that by 36, and that's how they come up with your monthly savings plan. So if I have a 600 credit score, well, I only need a 5% savings plan. That divides a lot less than they, right? Yeah. And so that's really how they come up with their savings plan. So you get more bang for your buck for the 600. And then also the monthly rent, they allow for a higher monthly rent when you're over a 600 versus just the 500. So it really does, those 50 points really make a huge impact to what your client can get for just a little bit. So everybody thinks that Divi won't do a home with a pool. They do. They'll do a home with a pool. They just don't do anything as far as maintain, service, upkeep. It's completely on the tenant. They will buy homes with pools. Yep. Yep. So good question, actually. So that brings me to a point. What happens to the house if I am going through the process and at the end of it, I go, you know what? I don't want this house. I'm moving. And I move out in 30 days. Divi still owns the home, right? What do they do with it? They have a website, and you can click on that link. There's not a lot of inventory right now. I just looked the other day, but you can click on the link and that house is available immediately. So if I now bring you as a client over and say, hey, you know what? I got this house is available. You can move in tomorrow. Literally all you have to do is go to the website, log into your portal, accept the home, and put your $500 deposit down, and you're in that home. I mean, you're moving in. So any inventory, the renter, yeah, the renter can move in. I mean, I guess it'd be weird if I moved in. I mean, if I'm their agent. Hey, what's up, names? So I use MLS. And so I go in and I find the MLS. I will send the listings to the client and say, here's 5. I only ever do 5. Here's 5 listings. Which one do you like? Great. All right. You like 2 of them? Great. I want to show you 4. So we're going to do it again. And I'll do that until I have 4 houses to show. Then when I go out and show them those homes, I will have already gone to the Divi website, typed in the address, printed off that page that shows them what their budget is. While we're standing in the house face to face, eyeball to eyeball, I'll go, this is what your budget's going to look like. How's that feel? You don't like the feeling of that? Okay, well, we need to go look at some other houses, because that budget is really what they're agreeing to. So, but I always take both and tie them together. So we talked about this a little bit. If the concession is not there, Divi will ask for the concession from your client. Days on the market, if it's less than 15 days, especially in the spring area, they're going to be aggressive. Expect a $15,000 to $30,000 offer on top of a spring offer. When I get around 26, 28, 29, 30 days, they're not as aggressive. They'll offer, okay, do you know if there's anything on the market for it? No. And actually, I did this recently with Dia, the one we looked at earlier. I honestly, I called the agent, no offer. That night after we hung up the phone, she got an offer. So Divi sent me the contract in the morning, and by the time I logged in to verify it was still not pending, it was already pending. So we lost that house. And so, yeah. New construction is available. Now there's a catch-22 to this. I've gone to a couple different builders that have inventory homes, which is hard to find nowadays anyway. And what I have found is that they don't want to deal with investment homes. And so, like, if you're going to buy it and you're going to rent it, they treat it as like a regular landlord. Some of them will say, hey, like I did find one legend homes. They treated it as, well, you're only renting it to one family. You're not going to keep putting it on the market for rental. So we'll treat it as not as an investment home, but they didn't see a house that they liked. And so that didn't move forward. But like DR Horton, they won't deal with Divi. There's some down in Katy that are small builders. They won't deal with Katy. They treat it as an investment property. So you just got to find the right builder. Resources, Divvy.com. Obviously, there's all kinds of training. There's all kinds of information on there that you can do. And then you can also use my information as a resource. If you have a question or something, you can call me. I can go over the information with you as well. I do have, how much time do we have left? What time is it now? Am I over? 10:55. So I'll be really quick. I got a couple of things I can show you still, if I can figure out how to get out of this. Yeah. So let me go back to this site here. Oh, here, yeah, good call, good call. Let me just share screen. Yeah, you'd think I'm starting to get the hang of this screen share thing. Yeah, man, hey, I'm impressed. So yeah, down here is that the 18 months if they buy it here, it works if they buy it at 36 months here. And this could be one day, and this could be 18 days and 1 month. You're gonna be at this one, and this was started at 349. So yeah, this is really where Divi makes their money. But the one thing I do want to show you off of this is, let me shut all this down real quick, is something that I did a class originally with Lisa when she was still here. don't know if I'm supposed to say that name, but once you and so, Voldemort. So when she was here, I did do a class on the marketing, and so the marketing tab is on the Divi website, and so literally my favorite one, you'll see this here. These are the ads that I use, and so let me pick a different one here. This is not the one. So let's use one just because it has my face on it. So all of this is editable. I can change this information up here. I can change my picture, my name, all that stuff, my EXP. Divi will have it as, this will say Divi
Can you
there.
share, please?
Oh,
We can't see it. Yeah, we can't see it.
You can't see. Okay, no worries, no worries. Thank you. I always forget they're there, and then there's a voice from above and beyond, and you're like, what the heck? Okay, so can y'all see it now? Yep. Okay. So this is what the marketing looks like, and you can change this, you can change this, and when it comes in originally, this is going to say Divi up here. This is going to say Divi right here. Down here, it's going to be a picture of some other lady and your information you have to go in and put in. I will tell you, EXP has a really strict guideline for their marketing. You have to send it to them first. If you go into the broker room and talk to a broker, they'll tell you, they'll give you, I have it saved in my email, but they'll give you the email address for marketing. You just send them all of your marketing over to them, and it's real easy. They do the, yep. But when you go to save the file from the website, the important thing is you'll go up to the save option, and then you'll save it to like your desktop or whatever, and then scroll down and save it as a JPEG. If you don't save it as a JPEG, it saves as a PDF, as a PowerPoint file, and you can't break them up in order to use them. And so if you do break them up right, then you'll have access like this. I just use this one particular ad, right? And so I'll show you really quick what I do with it as far as marketing goes. By the way, I don't pay for any of my advertisements, and I'll show you. I do get a lot of response. Yep. Oh, yes, you do have to email EXP. I don't have the number or the email address off the top of my head. You're going to have to go to probably the broker room, the Texas broker room, and they can give you. Actually, there's a marketing place in the EXP world as well, and you can go there. But they will tell you exactly what you have to email it to. And when you email it over to them, it's usually a day, and they'll respond back and say, hey, yeah, this looks good, you can do it. I've never had any issues with it. So here, what I want to show you is, let me minimize this real quick. Let me go to my Facebook. Will, can you see this online, my Facebook? Okay. All right, so I just want to show you. So here is my marketplace, and so you can see I get plenty of communications daily around my marketing material. So I do a couple things. I'm going to show you my real estate one here. This is an example. Like this one is boosted right now, and so I'll take it, and I'll put in there. I was using the scripted ones that you see on the website. When you go to marketing for Divi, there'll be some verbiage that you can use. There's some different flyers. There's some handout stuff. There's some cool tools on there. That being said, I do a lot of postings like this where I'll boost this and I'll send it through, and I'll get like 300 hits on it daily. Some people don't like doing it, but I put my phone number in there. Believe it or not, as many of those little tabs that you saw a second ago where people messaged me, I get phone calls too. I probably get 2 or 3 phone calls a day. Now, keep in mind, a lot of my ads are rental. Are you wanting to rent? In this one, I think is a rental, right? Yeah. So this I have as a rental, and I always select. Every zip code has its own little radius with Facebook. So you can't just expect to say, I'm gonna cover Spring and put this one ad out and cover Spring. It doesn't work like that. So when I go into my marketplace, I've got multiple, I can't get to it from here, but I've got multiple of this ad covering different areas: Conroe, Spring 1, Spring 2, Spring 3, Humble. So each time I put it out, I get different polls from different areas. Okay, so make sure that that's something you do. Other places that I'll put this at, I'll go into Facebook Marketplace. Actually, here I'll go. How do I get to it? Yeah, I am. But so your marketplace, at least mine is tied to my personal. It's not tied to my business. And dude, I get a lot of stuff out of marketplace. So when I come down here and I look at my selling, for example, so right now I think I only have 3. So these are the 3 that I have on there. That I'm pushing right now, and those are constantly. And again, marketplace is the same way. It only covers certain areas. Right now, I blanket Spring and Conroe. Those are the 2 that I typically. So here's the difference, and here's why I do it that way. So if you post a message to your Facebook page, only your friends are going to see it. Now I can boost it, but that costs me $25. I'm boosting it for 5 days. I get 1,000 hits a day, so it costs me $25. If I put it in marketplace, and when I like some of these, you'll see here listed in 7 other places. So I went in and friended 15 places near me, neighborhoods, subdivisions, woodlands, whatever, and I friended those. And I had to get permission. Somebody had to let me in. So if you post to something you're not supposed to, like if you're posting houses into furniture, that doesn't make any sense, right? They're going to kick you out, right? And so I post, and I that's where I put a lot of my ads, is those kind of places. So I boost and I do marketplace. So between doing both of those, I get typically 3 to 4 a day phone calls. Now, here's the catch. A lot of that is rentals. A lot of that is, hey, I'm desperate, need a house. I'm a felon. I got no credit, or I got horrible credit, and I got a pit bull. So there's not a lot you can be able to do with that. So you've got to very quickly learn to filter those and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to work with you. I'm going to put you in my database. What's your name and your email? I'll put you in my database, and I'll send you updates and things that are going on. I know a great credit person, credit-wise. I use Liza. She does amazing. And we'll work with you. So you're taking an interest in them. So when they get to where they need to be, they'll do something with you. I use Liza through CreditWise, Liza. I can give you her information in the back, but I can give it to you as well. So there's a lot that you can do. You're getting a lot of renters. But that being said, the conversation that you get really good at really quick. Great. Tell me how many pets you got. Awesome. What's your credit look like? Credit is 620, 630. Oh, no, lights are going off, right? All right. So tell me, what do you got in savings? What does that look like for you? Are you wanting to buy? Are you wanting to rent to own? Or are you wanting to purchase? I'm not wanting to purchase. Why? Well, I don't have enough money saved up. Great. Divi's a great option for that. For example, Dia, the one that I'm dealing with right now. He has almost a 750 credit score. She has a 648, right? He makes almost, between the 2 of them, they make like $120,000 a year. You know what's keeping him from buying? He has a COVID 1-year employment gap. No lender will touch him right now because FHA, you got to have 2 years worth of history. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to do the Divi option because I can get into a house now. I can make it my own. I've got, I'm pregnant. I need to expand my house. It's a great option for them. And so, again, that is an example of where somebody, through the screening process, we identify, okay, this is a good option. It's that app. It's it. Yep, it's the app. It's sometimes I get customers that just don't read the ad. They see a picture of a house and they say 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they call me, hey, I really like that house. Shit, I like that house. I mean, that's a great house too. You know, but that's not exactly exactly for that, right? So, but the answer to the question is yes. The question was, is that house a real house? No, it's not a real house. Those are the ads you're all going to get from Divi. Yeah, no, I always do too. Oh, here's another really good hint. I learned this through trial and error. So I've been doing this for a while now. If you post a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath at $1,200, man, your phone is gonna blow up. But it's junk. 99.9% of it is felony, pit bull. You know, it's junk. 1,500 or higher. That's right now, that's the marketplace. You know, if you post, you want to post 1,500 to 2,000. Honestly, when I post $2,000 a month rent, I almost inevitably get people they have money saved up, they have a good income. Usually it's a credit issue that we're dealing with. And Liza, I'm telling you guys, I use Liza. I don't even know if she knows that I use her as much as I do, but I even go into my marketplace and I send out communication in my marketplace to all of my clients and say, hey, look, because I tag them. If it's a credit issue, I'll put it in my hashtags credit repair or whatever. And so then once a month, part of my communication is I send out, hey, if you're still struggling with credit, this is a great tool that you can use to get back on track. And I'll put Liza's information and whatever her promotion is at the time, I'll put it in there. So, and I have 3 people in there right now. When they get out, we're buying a house. So this year I'm doing about 1 a month. So, technically I will be at 5 for this year by the end of this month. And that it all really, I made this a focus. So I mean, I've closed other stuff besides Divi too. I'm not telling you to make your whole business around Divi, but if you are a buyer's agent right now, this is a great tool that opens it up to people that you would otherwise turn away. You know what I mean? So you do right now? Oh. Yep. Gotcha. It really is a pretty cool program if you're a buyer's agent. Excellent. Perfect. All right. Well, that is everything that I got. I think I'm at my time. If y'all, any other questions, going once, going twice, online, give it a couple of seconds. No worries. Yep. Did they text you or did they call you? Okay. No, I haven't heard of mine. It's 2 days, right? If you email, you'll get a response. Awesome. I hope that helps everybody. Y'all have a great day. I don't know how to sign off this thing. Stop recording, dude.